Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is Rune. So today we'll be doing Let's Talk Legendary, and we're talking about the infamous Tocasia, the dig site mentor. So as you can see based on the picture, she's a human from the plane of Dominaria from the region of known as Terracer. But believe it or not, she is the elder archaeologist who had apprenticed Mishra and Urza when they were younger. And as a result of this, she had taught them Mishra and Israel the very basic of artifice, and she had also taught them about the Thran. One time she took them to Koilos, and that is where the Weak Stone and Might Stone were discovered. On this trip, she also had discovered the beginnings of them starting to dislike each other. She did a test. As she would ask each brother to give her a stone, neither would do this, as each brother would think she would give it to the other brother. One night, the brothers were fighting with the stones, and she tried to intervene. But as the result of this intervention, both brothers lost concentration with the stones, and the explosion had happened. This is sadly where Tocasia had died in the explosion. But after the explosion, Mishra had fled the expedition. And without her alive, the camp actually just fell apart. And with that being said, she's actually in a lot, or depicted in a lot of cards. I'm going to keep saying that. I'm surprised. So the first one she's represented in one card only is Tocasia, the Dig Site Mentor, which you've seen throughout the video. And it says basically creatures control vigilance, and you may turn artifact cards from the total value of 10 or less from your graveyard to the battle. Now there are three cards that she is associated with. The first one being, well, the dig site. Basically, it's quite simple and quite explanatory. There's the site she was working on. And then this card she's basically associated with, well, has her name in it. You can't get any more explanatory than that. And I like the saying, your father was a dear friend of whom I owe much. He wanted me to look after you, to care for you, and should something happen to him. Another card that she's associated with is, well, her Onulet. This is a really cool card. It's a construct, and most of these cards seem to be from Brothers War, so she was brought back from Antiquities. We will show some cards, but most of them seem to be from Brothers War. She's also depicted in two cards, believe it or not, and, well, the first one being the excavation, and again goes back to the dig site. That's the same picture and same card of her, well, looking at it. Another card that she's depicted in is Stern Lesson. And this is actually one of my favorite ones because it goes to the storyline of how the brothers are, like Urza and Mishra when they were younger. And it's really interesting perspective, other than being like, the planeswalker of old. Now, there's quite a few cards that she's quoted or referred to in. And while the Brothers End is basically when they were having that fight, and you can see in the very, very background there she is running to stop those brothers fighting. And the saying is, the brothers' rivalry escalated into an all out enmity, and Tocasia paid the price. And then we got this famous artifact. She's actually represented in two cards, this one being the Brothers' War from the Ornithopter. It says, without Urza's ingenuity, the wings would never have borne weight. Without Mishra's courage, we would never have known the machine's true potential. I hope this persuades them to work together more. Journal entry. Then we have a giant Cindermaw from Brothers' War, and it says, don't excavate too far into those canyons. I promised your parents I'd turn you in one piece. Then we got overwhelming remorse. The face haunted his vision. The explosion still rung in his ear. Mishra kept running and never once looked back. I guess this is beginning of the major war. And then we got finally a card from Antiquities. It's a Grapeshot Catapult. And the saying goes, for years the scholars debated whether these were Urza's or Mishra's creations. Recent research suggests that they were invented by the brothers' original master, Tocasia, and that both used these devices. And then we got something really cool from Time Spiral. It's Primal Plasma. It says, she brushed the gears of the cogs of the table. There, before two wide-eyed brothers, there she began a lesson on raw elemental magic with them. So it's really cool with the storyline. I think this is interesting how they progress this. Then we have Lauren, the disciple of history. It says, Urza and Mishra may have been Tokesia's most famous students, but Lauren was the true heir to her legacy. And there we go, to get the dig site again in the background or foreground. Next we have is Su Chi from Antiquities. It's really cool. We got flawed copies of the relics from the Thran Empire. The Su Chi were inherently unstable but provided useful knowledge for Tokasia's students. So that's really cool. Again, this is a storyline from way back in the day that they brought back forward. Then we got it back to the Brothers' War cards. It is the Orb. I now believe that the strange orb was some kind of Thran's security device. Supporting this theory, I can no longer recall where I found it. It's a journal entry, so I thought that was really funny. And now we got Universal Automaton from Modern Horizons. Within minutes, the strange device that was indistinguishable from the other upon my workbench. Another journal entry from her. And then we're going to Antiquities with the stones that the brothers had discovered that's kind of associated with her. It says, while exploring the sacred cave of Koilos, with the brothers Mishra and their master Tocasia, Urza fell behind in the Hall of Tagism, where he discovered the remarkable Might Stone. Then we have Urza's factory, but actually from Time Spiral, believe it or not. Though their ideals are leagues apart, Urza and Mishra creations have surprising harmony with one another. Or another entry from her. That's so really cool because it is kind of a good perspective. Then we have a very famous and expensive card. We got Mishra's Workshop. Though he eventually came to despise Tocasia, Mishra listened well to her lessons on clarity of purpose. Unlike his brother, he focused his mind on a single goal. Next, we have a really cool card. It's Urza's Tower. And basically, all it says is Urza always put Tocasia's lessons on the resource gathering to the effective use. Next, we have on the list is Onulet. An early inspiration for Urza, Tocasia's amulets contain magical essences that could be cannibalized after they stopped functioning. Now we have an interesting card. It's from Urza's Workshop. It says Urza eventually came to understand Tocasia's lessons on clarity of purpose. Perfection became his goal, and all other matters fell away into its pursuit. There we go. As I said earlier, we got the Antiquities Ornithopter. And well, many scholars believe that these creatures were the result of Urza's first attempt of mechanical life, perhaps created in his early days as an apprentice to Tocasia. So we got two little perspectives on that. That's really interesting. And the last card out of all of this is Weak Stone, again with the other stones that were discovered. During their brother's childhood, Tocasia took them to explore the sacred cave of Kolios. There, in the Hall of Tagism, Mishra discovered the mysterious Weak Stone. And that is currently all the information we have on her. Surprisingly, she's associated with a lot of cards and depicted in. And I hope you guys have a good day and a good evening.